Assalamu alaikum and greetings. This is Tahira Talabdeen, the founder of Hearts Connecting, and I'm coming to you today not as Hearts Connecting founder, although I introduced myself as that. I'm coming to you today as a woman, a widow who has experienced today being the 12-month anniversary of the passing or the transition of my husband Antar. Today, July 30th, 2021, made a year since Antar passed away. And as I reflect, the obvious emotions, like I truly do miss my husband and I miss him. My heart yearns for him. My heart is also content in this moment, and my heart has deep gratitude in this moment. I'm grateful to have experienced such a true love and a good man, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to Allah that I was blessed to have a good husband, such as my husband Antar. And I like to share with you how I spent my day. So I'm currently at Shalimar. Decided to go get something to eat and just, treat myself, to something really good. So today I was very intentional. I woke up I went to sleep feeling good. I went to sleep feeling contentment in the heart. And even with the contentment in the heart, it doesn't remove or replace that yearning of missing my husband. It's just something that I believe may stay with me forever, and I definitely welcome that. So with that, I woke up this morning feeling really well and feeling good, and I knew that I wanted to, I'm in an eatery, so there's going to be a lot of background noise. I knew that I wanted to feed those in need, so I prepared a delicious homemade meal. I had ramen noodles mixed with spaghettis and some other kind of like East Asian noodle, and I prepared that and added the flavoring in there, like the chicken and beef flavoring, and I sauteed different kind of squashes. And one of the squashes was made with more like Italian seasoning and basil and coconut oil and some curry sauce, or more so like an Indian based seasoning. And the other butternuts, the other summer squash was mixed with cooking oil and pepper and garlic and onion powder and onion and garlic powder. And it smells so delicious. And I prepared these meals on behalf of my husband so that the acts of good charity and the acts of feeding those in need may benefit Antar in the grave and on the day of judgment. Ameen. Because as Muslims, we believe that, there are three things that benefit the deceased in their grave, and one of which is prayers of a righteous child. Another one is knowledge that they left behind that benefits others, and the third is acts of ongoing blessings or ongoing charity that someone does on their behalf. So I chose the latter because that applies for me as his wife, to do acts of good deeds that benefit him. And I fed those in need on his behalf, and that went well. And then I went to Costco's. I have a Costco's membership. My brother added me on his membership, and I love Costco's right now. So I went there and I got 24 roses of multicolored roses in the family of red and orange and yellow. And I went to my husband's gravesite. I placed the roses on in the vase that I have for him there, and I cut the grass around his grave site, and I read Surah to Yasin to my husband, and I made dua for my husband at his grave site. And I appreciate visiting his grave site. I like to go at least once a week or at least once every 8 to 9 days, because it's just nice to be there to visit his gravesite, make dua for him, and most importantly for me, well, not most importantly, but for me, I get satisfaction in bringing fresh roses or fresh flowers to his gravesite. So I like to keep the flowers fresh. But in the Sacramento summer heat, you know, the flowers dry out within probably like 4 or 5 days. And I made prayer for my husband, and today I had a business course. You know, I'm taking a business course for women of faith in business, and I have an accountability buddy, and she texted me. She sent me such a beautiful message, just honoring me as a wife and just acknowledging me on my journey. And she was just a beautiful sister Nazia. And she said she checked in and see if I was going to make it to class tonight because it's virtual. And I said to her, I said, you know what? I am going to class. I said, I'm going to honor my husband by showing up to class tonight. I said that would be one of the best ways that I can honor Antar is showing up to business class. And I'm so grateful that I did, because going into class today, it was invigorating. It was the bomb. It was so much great energy, and most importantly, very beneficial, because it helped me to get even more strength and confidence in the areas that I'm not necessarily as strong in my business, but I'm well on my way. And I thought that what a great way to honor Antar, and that's to show up. So I'm sharing this to share this with you. I'm sharing this to say that, like, in this moment, I can feel that it's not an ache. It is a somewhat of a void, but it's not a void that brings forth sadness. It's a void that brings forth reflection and humility, and I miss my husband. I miss my husband, and I'm grateful to Allah that He blessed me with a good man, and I can say that I know what it is to be loved and to love, and that brings forth contentment and gratitude, because I know what that's like. I'm trying to keep this video too long, and I think that's it for now. You know, I just reflect back on how everything occurred last year this time. Like, the doctor, I was home, and the doctor called me, I want to say right around Asr, like right around 4 p.m. And he said to me, you know, your husband has been declared dead because of when you're brain dead, that, and at least I know in the state of California, like, that's when they stamped you as deceased. So my husband was stamped in terms of his death certificate as deceased as of around Asr. So he kept him on his life support so that his daughter can see their father while on a machine as opposed to in the morgue. And when we got there, you know, they had their private time with him they was in there for like 5 hours in a room with him and Antar's ex-spouse and children, and I was in the waiting room giving them their time, and I was calling, you know, my husband's friends and community members to let them know that my husband returned back to Allah. And it was through the grace of Allah that I was able to have that level of clarity and focus to make those phone calls. And I'm grateful for that, because it was in that window, and those windows, that I was able to make those calls. So I want to say around 11 something p.m., about 11:23, 11:25 p.m., I was in a room with my husband. You know, after his family left, I went back in the room. He was still in his life support, and I washed his face. What I would do when I was in the hospital, I would get like a wet cloth, and I will rub shea butter on there, like good smelling shea butter, And I would wipe his face down and wipe his hands down so that when I'm cleaning his face, he's also being moisturized and smooth and smelling good. So I cleaned his face and I wiped him down and I played Quran in the room, and I put my head on my husband's chest. I put my hand on one of his hands and I placed my other hand on the top of his forehead. And I just was talking to him while his heart was like beating by the machine. And I was just telling him I love him. And I'm just so grateful that Allah allowed me to be here with you and yours. And I just compliment him on the kind of man that he has been to me as his wife. And around that time, my husband's heart stopped beating. And his heart stopped beating with my head on his chest. And when I knew that, and that was a mercy from Allah, and when I knew that my husband, when he got ill, when it was really serious, when the doctors were saying that the mortality rates are fairly high for his condition, I did say to Allah, I said, Allah, when my husband does return back to you, like, I would like to be with him when that happens. But I also accepted the reality as the months went on prior to his passing, that if it's Allah's will, I'll be there. And if not, then I accept whatever Allah's will is. And in that moment, there was a sense of like poetry in the journey that I endured. I endured a journey with my husband's lengthy illness and all that took place surrounding it. But I was very diligent and devoted and faithful and dedicated to my husband during his illness, and by his side. There was no other way but to be that. You understand? So for Allah to allow me as his wife to have my head on my husband's beautiful chest when his heart stopped was just a mercy from Allah. And to me, that was such a honorable gift that Allah gave me. So I share all this to share. This is what year one looks like for me as my husband's wife, my husband's widow. And I'm just thankful to Allah for my husband and the love that I experienced with him. Antar is such a beautiful and pure soul. And I do pray that Allah makes a way for my husband and I to reunite in the next life. And that he and I are spouses in the next life, and he and I get to live in our mansions in the next life and dwell forever in peace in the next life. Ameen. Allahumma Ameen. And although I'm not trying to rush to get there, because I have work to do and I am alive, and I show my gratitude to Allah for my life, that's just what my heart desires. So I'll end there. And thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.